Thank you.
Okay, Deb, you are live.
Okay. Hello, welcome. Gonna call the Golden Gate Fire Protection District Board meeting to order and welcome our guests. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. A flag is
Subjects.
a flag is coming. Oh. I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic which stands one nation indivisible with liberty. Thank you. We'll call the roll. Meredith here. Carla
Here.
Mike.
Here.
Kyle is here. Are there additions or deletions to the agenda? Did you want to add a little?
Only to perhaps discuss the timing of forming the budget committee. What month we should make that organization happen.
Gonna put that 5.5 under new business. I gave my one copy away. Okay. Are there any conflicts of interest of the board related to any agenda items?
No.
No. All right, and then I'm gonna ask for approval that were the May 22nd meeting minutes that were distributed. I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I move we approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Oh, and I do want to mention Dave Primer is excused absence. He can't be with us this evening. Treasurer's report, our treasurer Mike Sieber.
Yes. And there are copies of the treasury report over here. The period covering May 2025, the district's total expenses were $28,620.52. Expenditures included $14,997 of that, or 52.4% of the total expenses for May was an installment payment for our 2025 CWPP report. And then almost $1,693. Looks like I've got a typo in there, 6%. I do. I've got an extra dot in there. And that was basically used to cover a lot of the additional PPE for the firefighters. The remainder of the expenses were attributed to general reoccurring expenses such as payroll, facility utilities, maintenance at stations 81, 82, and 83, vehicle maintenance, insurance, office supplies, and just some miscellaneous operational expenses. For the period covering May 2025, the district collected a revenue of $53,050, of which $51,000 of that $53,000 was from the tax revenue, and $1,536 was interest income, and $240 was in donations. As of the 31st of May, the district has $414,459 in the money market, as well as $47,985 in the Wells Fargo checking account. Any questions?
Yeah, do you wanna mention that since we have a new state authorized website, there are compliance issues, so our financials will, you want to talk about that, Mike?
Yes, I will. And there are certainly changes. I printed out financials that we utilize to build the report. They're over here. We can no longer post them on the website because of the format. They have to be what is it?
ADA compliant.
ADA compliant. So if it's in a spreadsheet format that is not compliant, it has to be in a narrative form, so that it can be posted on the website. So there's a big change there. Been working with others to make sure we are going to be compliant with that. The financials are they're stored on a website, not a website, but in our Google directory, and they're available. If you don't pick up a copy here, they're available upon request. So they're always available. It's just to be ADA compliant, we have to change our format to fit that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't look at the financials yet, but where are we with tax revenue for 2024? I know the second half of tax payments were due like June 15th, I think. So do we still have a lot of money outstanding yet that's yet to come, or where are we with the tax revenue?
I do not know. I'm new enough to where I'm still figuring it all out. So I appreciate the questions because it lets me know where I need to, what kind of answers I need to come prepared to.
Mike, do you want to address that?
Please do.
So Sheila, we're about halfway through the revenue stream. We get large chunks of payments all the way through about October. And then the November and the December payments are much smaller. But they're almost equal every month all the way through October. And then we see a couple months of smaller distributions.
Thank you.
Any other?
So maybe I'm misunderstanding, but if your expenses were $50-some thousand and you only have $40-some thousand in your checking account, are you gonna have enough money to cover next month's expenses if they're?
Good question. So let me clarify. Our total expenses were the 28,620. And our revenue collected was 53,000. So.
Yeah.
Good question. Thank you for asking.
Mike, do you mind if I elaborate one more time on that?
Yes, yeah.
So one thing that we did, Susan, when we restarted to redo the finances when I came on board here, is we made sure that we're keeping as much money as we possibly could in the reserves in a high interest bearing account. So the way that we've operated for the last 2 years is that we only move money out of that interest bearing account into the checking account when it's needed based off of the anticipated needs of the next 30 days. So in general, we have the most of our holdings for the fire department are exposed to account that bears us interest.
And right now that money market account is $414,459. So substantial.
How much interest do you get?
For this last month, we collected $1,536 of interest off of that.
Do FDIC limits come into play there, $250,000 protection on an account?
I would assume that they would apply to that. So that's a very good point that we need to be in consideration of. Yeah, it's a very good point, and I appreciate you bringing that up. So yes, something we would want to discuss.
Yeah, so my understanding is that it's actually multiple, the account is a program through essentially an investment platform or investment vehicle for public entities. It's specific for public entities like fire departments, water districts, things like that. And it does, if we go over whatever the protected limit is, and I think it is different for a public entity than it is for a private entity, then it does get distributed and protected in the same way.
Interesting.
That's a good question. It's someone we'll probably want to kind of confirm that limit on that.
Yeah, I think we looked at it when we moved money into some of these into these accounts. And I think the way it's distributed essentially that it's under the normal like management, right? There's no like excess, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That wouldn't be under normal protection that would be available to a public entity.
If you had to, you could also open up 2 accounts
Mhm.
in each one.
Yeah, it's a really good point, really good question. So, I know working with Deb, and, Chris on that, working with on getting on that account.
Yeah.
So some really good questions we want to have the answer to.
Yes,
Is,
Cody Wise.
Oh, yeah, Cody.
Susan, does she still have those cards in the grocery store? For the card?
Everybody needs to speak louder. This room has terrible acoustics.
Yeah, so they don't think that program exists anymore.
Oh, it doesn't exist.
I don't think that they're the King Supers kickback cards.
Mm-mm.
I think that program hasn't existed for a little while.
Yes, we do get money from King
Oh,
Super.
you guys,
Do you?
The auxiliary.
The auxiliary does.
From King Super, every dollar before. And you have to specify on your King Super card, that, it's like a membership card, not a credit card. But if you have a King Supers card, you have to specify that the Golden Gate Auxiliary will be the beneficiary of their, percentage. And, right now, I think we have 52 people who have those cards. And we get in the neighborhood of $200 to $350 a quarter from King Supers.
Wow.
To the auxiliaries. So if you don't have a King Supers card, with the auxiliary on it, we would love it if you added yourself because it's very helpful to get that money.
Would it be possible for the auxiliary to send out an email to the community on how to do that?
Okay, we can do
That
that.
would be very helpful. I think a lot of it, I would certainly do that.
Thank you, Carolyn. Yeah. Bring that.
Susan, are we still getting from Amazon or?
No.
Just the smiles.
Okay, any other questions? Again, there are copies of the treasurer's report available. And I do want to take a minute to mention with the new website right now, soon to end, if you go to our old website, there is a place right on the front page where it says new website, check it out. And if you click on that, it takes you right to the new website.
Yeah, there's a little bit of confusion about that. I can address that before the chief's
Yeah.
report. So
Okay,
we currently have 2 websites. At the last board meeting, the board adopted our new website, which is a colorado.gov website. It is hosted on the State Internet Portal Authority. But we also have the goldengatefire.org, the legacy website. As of hopefully next week, and at the latest will be the week after that, the goldengatefire.org URL will then be attached to the new website. So if you go to goldengatefire.org, it will just take you to the new website, and the legacy website won't be available for public consumption anymore. All right. With that, Debbie, you good for me to start the chief's report?
yes, please, chief's report.
All right. First of all, thank you all for coming to the open house. This was really fun, and we're glad to finally be able to show off all the hard work that happened at the station. And, you know, there's, like we talked about with several people, there's still some things that we're gonna do here and at the other stations that continue to improve our operational efficiencies here. But we're really pleased as how far we've come here, specifically in this station. There's a few big things that we need to talk about as a district. The biggest one is that the state of Colorado created a wildfire resiliency code statewide. And it's going to be adopted by the state next Tuesday on the 1st. After it is adopted by the state on the 1st, both the fire district, all of the fire districts in the state of Colorado, as well as all the counties and the municipalities that enforce or hold code will be required to adopt that level of wildland and urban interface code or higher by March 1st of 2026. It is state mandated. We have no, I know people have different feelings about WUI code. But there's no recourse. There is no way for us to not participate. We as an entire state will be held to the standard. Because of that because of our kind of moves to adopt that code, which we will have to do before next March. Have been appointed to a county committee, to assist in the county's code adoption, which will help then inform our own adoption process. The county is essentially trying to create a program where the fire districts and the county can align and be identical in our code. And then they can help us with, the ins and outs of enforcement of that code instead of it directly falling onto the fire district for enforcement. We are still going through that with the county. And that is one of the reasons I'm going to go, sit on this committee, with the county, but it is something that we shall be aware of. I do not know the nuts and bolts about how it's going to work, what it's going to affect. If it's going to be a blanket thing that is applied to everybody, or if it's just if you're applying to build a new building, or what are the triggers for code inspection and compliance. So I know that there will be lots of questions about that, and just as of right now, I do not have the answers. We should hopefully have those answers as we come into spring of next year, and we will definitely have the answers when we implement our own code here, or update our own code in Golden Gate. Currently, we do not have an urban interface code for Golden Gate Fire Protection District. So that's a big thing. And again, I just want to reiterate, it's not something that is being driven specifically by the fire district. It is not something that we can get around. It is not something that we can go and talk to and yell at XYZ commissioners, state senators about. This is set in stone. And we have to comply. So again, once we know more, if you have more questions, I'll make sure to bring updates to board meetings. And then as we start to get closer to code compliance or implementing our own code, we will put that out I think we have to go out for a public hearing before we adopt the new code. Let's see here. Also on the county level, the county commissioners on Monday approved, actually I think it's Tuesday, they approved officially the expansion of Jefferson County Sheriff's Office wildland fire program. They approved 37 full-time equivalent positions. It is a huge step forward for the county. It will include GIS specialists. It will include grant specialists. It will include a mitigation crews that are also available for suppression. And it will include fire duty officers for the county that will be available to help us at any time. It is an incredibly robust and well thought out program with equipment, fire engines, all kinds of things that are coming to the county that will be of great assistance to Golden Gate. A very important note, part of this, leading up to this approval, there was some work done on the county to start planning for implementing mitigation or mitigation crew work for when they come online, which they hope to have online by about October. Which is, I think, when we're thinking that our own mitigation division is going to be stood up by. And one of the first projects that was selected during the project prioritization for the county is a very large project in Golden Gate Canyon. The details of which are not completely lined out, but it will be an egress protection work along Golden Gate Canyon that will center around the intersection of Golden Gate Canyon and Crawford Gulch, down past below the Grange, and then up from there. The long-term planning is to go all the way to the top of Guy Hill, and then also go up Crawford Gulch quite a ways. But it is a very high priority for the county that gets done.
Yay.
Is that fire mitigation new Jeffco include any provision provisions for a beetle infestation?
So, interesting question. A lot of that is something that's been brought up multiple times. Beetles in general, are not under the purview of the fire mitigation group. That's more under Jefferson County Forestry. However, one thing that has become an interesting conversation is that by doing proper fire mitigation and following fire mitigation strategies, we are usually actually taking care of the beetle problem in tandem with fire mitigation. So beetles cause a fire problem, and then we are taking care of the fire problem when we have beetle trees. So they kind of go hand in hand with each other, but it's not a specific charge by the county's fire mitigation crew, if that makes sense.
So if we spot infested tree, we can't call Jeff goes, hey,
Yeah, Jeff goes, a lot of the work that mitigation crew is gonna is working on this very, realistically, the first 5 to 10 years that they're working on is gonna be a lot of roadside work. Just like we have had feedback in our own community of like, I am doing my part by mitigating my home. But why is our egress route not protected? And that's not a Golden Gate problem. That's a problem that's all throughout the foothills. And that's feedback that's been given to the county and to the fire districts all throughout the foothills. And it is a huge chunk of work that has to be done. And it's gonna take us a very long time just to do that. But that's a really big thing for the county. It's a big thing for all of the fire districts. It's a big thing for our capacity as a group of fire protection entities, agencies as a whole, as we work together. It's just a really big thing for all of us. And it's a huge lift. And I would like to give a proper kudos where they're due. It's a lot of this has come to fruition because of our current, he just moved into a new position. He was our only FMO, fire management officer, and now he's the fire program manager. His name is Brian Keating. Came into the county with a vision and made it happen in a big way. And then also big thanks to all of you, because the reason that this is even a possibility was because of 1A being funded during the election back in November. So a lot of the funding that has coming from 1A is making this a reality.
Go ahead, Dave.
One of the things maybe to do a little bit of research on is how is this going to affect our open space areas? and
Exactly my
diverse
question.
property?
Yeah, so let me hear the second part. So open space properties, and then what was the last part?
Gold trips.
Gold trusts. Gotcha. Well, the gold property is privately held. So there's nothing specific about the Golter property. There will be work done on open space. There already is quite a large body of work that gets done on open space through their forestry management program. But that will continue to accelerate through this. And they are part of the discussion with the fire districts when we look at projects. As well as being a stakeholder and, trying to be a good stakeholder and helping fire districts get all this other work done. I can tell you, and we're, skip ahead, they have been huge contributors to our CWPP planning process, like very big contributors. And they are willing to help us get project work done, identify areas within their own lands that are beneficial to, that require work that's beneficial to residential properties. And they've been open and willing and had very, very positive discussions with us regarding all of that. The other thing that is a very important note, because I hear this question a lot, it is not set in stone. We don't know exactly how it's going to look, but the county commissioners are very interested in creating a micro grant program for homeowner fire mitigation. And that will be the first. At one point, I think it was about 20 years ago in Jefferson County, there was a small micro grant program. And they're very interested in bringing that program back. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know if it's going to be a match. We don't know what the caps are. We don't know anything about that. But the answer that I can now give you all, that when people come to me with questions, is that there should be some kind of hopeful assistance in the future for people to get mitigation work around their homes and their egress routes.
How far in the future?
I think based off of the pace that the county's going now, you're probably, I would imagine it's gonna be mid to late 2026, is that 2027, that would be available. I might be wrong, that's definitely something that the commissioners are very interested in getting going. That they are hiring specific grant management people for the Wildland Fire Division that will handle that and implement that, but they have to be hired first before we even have any idea what the program looks like.
And back to your first talk about a code.
Mhm.
Does that apply to private property? or-
Yes.
So, are our properties gonna be inspected for fire mitigation or what is, I don't understand.
So I think based off of what I understand now, the threshold for, it will be under the same thresholds for inspection for code that there are now. So most likely it will be if there's a new permit. There's not gonna be the mitigation police
No.
going out there and looking at properties.
Yeah.
As we talked about before, there actually was a piece of legislature that did go through Congress, state Congress or state legislature that was passed, that does allow for fire districts to essentially implement what you're talking about, where people can go, they can go from, residence to residence and implement a fine for not having certain defensible space or not meeting certain parts of their WUI code. That is not something that Golden Gate Fire is opting to do. Because first of all, we don't have the capacity to do it. And as of right now, I just don't think that we should be looking at other methods of trying to help encourage mitigation. So yeah, this is not creating the mitigation police, right? This is essentially, if you are going to do something that requires a permit, your home or property will have to fall within the code, the WUI code.
Is there a way to get mitigation police to your property?
So we are currently working, as we build our own mitigation program up here in the district, as you guys may or may not have heard, we are looking at creating a separate division within Golden Gate Fire. So we now currently have operations and the admin support division, and we will be adding a mitigation division. Hopefully, we are starting our committee, should be hopefully meeting sometime in the next 2 weeks. And then we will be hoping to implement that team by October, hopefully to help with this project, the first project for the county, down there on Golden Gate Canyon. And then help us also build our own capacity to do more work for greater good mitigation within our own district. Part of that program will most likely be a home assessment program. I've had several firefighters who have approached me with interest in getting the training to do home assessments. But we do not currently have the capacity to do it right now. Did that answer your question? Oops.
Okay.
Do you
Sheila?
know if the WUI code has changed a lot from the last publication?
It is,
I read that for one when I was on the board, and maybe some of the people here remember that the reason why we didn't adopt the code is because there was so much controversy and so many
Yeah.
things in that WUI code that didn't apply to a district
To a
like
rural,
ours.
yes.
yeah.
So we had a group of people that tried to come up with, Dave Caruso, you might remember that too. We had some people that tried to come up with, here's what the code says, here's what this is what our code is gonna look like.
Yep.
Are we not allowed to do that anymore?
So we have to meet so let me answer the first part of your question. So from my reading of the state code, which is available on the state's website, it is based off of the international code. It is not exactly the same. It's not a cut and paste thing, and it also is variable based off of where you are in Colorado, as far as what parts of the code apply and which parts don't. So there's actually a map on the website. Yeah, so it's not a blanket thing, and there are definitely, what I would say, there are definitely gonna be districts that choose to take steps above the state's code. The thing that's gonna be important for Golden Gate is that unless we are going to take on our own code enforcement for the fire district, we are gonna have to meet what the county is gonna say this is the code. If we do not meet what the county's code is, then we will have to create or find alternative methods for enforcement, which as of right now, I don't know if we have the capacity to do. Good then.
I live 2 doors, from open space on the west entrance, okay? And so I've been there 27 years or something like that. Could you explain when you start into the west entrance, there's a big thing for water, the wall? Okay, nobody's ever explained it to me.
Sure.
Is there a key to it? And how would you use it? How much water is in there? And do they put it to the truck? And how far in our neighborhood would it go?
There you go. I can answer all those questions. So that is called. Yeah, that's-
How long's that been?
So it's been there since they built that parking lot,
Mm-hmm.
as part of that construction project. I believe, and Dave, you may know the number exactly off the top of your head. I think it's 30,000 gallons. Does that sound right?
Well, 20 or 30, I think.
It's a very large cistern, very large. And it stores water. We do have access to it whenever we need it. The fire department does. And we can take that water anywhere we need to take it. Legally, as the fire department, when something is on fire, we have eminent domain over any water source that we need. To combat fire, including the water inside of that cistern. It is designed for firefighting, so there's nothing contentious about us taking that water. But we would use it wherever we needed it. We're gonna use it where it's logical, right? Us going to that cistern to fight a fire on Crawford Gulch probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But maybe we have a fire that's up here on Robinson Hill, and it does make sense. But it's for you guys centrally on Douglas Mountain. That's a really good water source for us to combat any kind of wildland fire or structure fire or car fire even over there on Douglas Mountain.
But how do you get into it? And how do you get it from that into a truck or?
So
And what do? You open
Got
it
an
up?
attachment.
Yeah, we have, it's got you open it up, there's a lid on it. So it gets checked, and we have the ability to pull water right out of it. So we use our pumps to cause a negative pressure that pulls the water out of it.
Has it been used by fire?
I don't think that one ever has been used. We did consider using it, during a fire, about 18 months ago, but we did not.
And Jeff, they have to refill it if they have to. replace it.
Correct.
That's
Yep.
part of the agreement.
Yeah, there's some interesting intricacies around the agreement of that, how that was built. Yes, does that answer your questions though?
Yeah, I think so. And where's the nearest one? Besides this one, where's your nearest one like that you?
So we actually have one right out here,
Oh, okay.
right here in the yard. But there's actually a couple other private cisterns that are over, off of in your neighborhood. I think there's one on Dogie Spur. There's not one on Dogie Spur. There's a few of them over there on Douglas Mountain.
Are any of them, buried underground?
Yes. I think all of them are buried.
About using old propane tanks and burying stuff. Where's one buried? And it's so hard, it's all rock. Where's one?
So a lot of the newer homes that were built over there have them on the property. When you're driving up Douglas Mountain, here's a good thing for you. There's gonna be a red sign. It looks like a wave on it. And that's gonna be a sign for a cistern for fire water.
Yeah, you could see them.
It's a sign on the side of the road?
Yeah, usually down a driveway,
On a post.
on a post, yeah.
You probably just don't notice it because you go by it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are several right by your home. So.
But you can't use it for your swimming pool.
Yes, no, you can't use it for your swimming pool. All right, let's keep on
Yeah, let's
going.
keep on going.
All right, admin. So another big thing for us, if you do not know, which hopefully you already do, on this Saturday, we are bringing back Golden Gate Canyon Slash Collection. It will be a 1-day slash collection. It's going to be at the Grange. There will be 2 collection points, in the parking lot there, between Station 83 and the Grange. We are only collecting slash. So no pine cones, no needles, no logs. over 6 inches in diameter. So please do not bring bags, don't bring anything in something that where you raked up your lawn, and don't bring that to us because we can't use it, we can't do anything with it. We will be stuck with it, so please don't bring it. We will most likely send you back, we will send you back home with it at that point. We will be accepting slash from 9 AM until 3 PM.
And it's $20 a load?
$20 a load, and we only can take cash or check. So please make sure to bring cash or check, and we will get that done, but it is definitely a lot easier of a collection site than trying to take everything down to Tin Cup Ridge. And we're open on trying to do it over a weekend so that we can get as many people as we possibly can to bring down there and do some encouragement for defensible space. Okay, we already kind of touched on this a little bit, but we had some scheduling issues that prevented initial meeting of the mitigation division committee. However, we're going to try to stay on track with implementation by October. Grant project updates, the safety disease grant, which was for the 30 sets of tech gen. We received our spec gear, so they send us one set of gear that's made to our spec that we gave to them. And we approved it. Delivery for all of the firefighters for that gear is expected in 6 to 8 weeks. So hopefully very shortly here. We are, however, seeing availability of grants on a downturn, especially on the federal level, and also specifically around mitigation work. However, we're going to continue to seek out some grant funding as it becomes available. The one thing that we're trying to keep an eye out for is that frequently when we see a downturn in federal grants, we see an uptick of alternative grant opportunities. So they're just harder to seek out. So we're trying to keep an eye out for some of those other alternative grant funding opportunities.
You have Alphamar on your list in Colorado Springs?
Was that Alphamar? Yes, that's one of the alternative grant opportunities. Yep. Yep. So yes, things like Alphamar, that's a great example. Operations, we've had a little bit of a slower start to summer than we normally see. We've had 26 calls to date for 2025. The tablet implementation has been delayed, again, due to some scheduling conflicts, but it's still slated for completion sometime in the next 60 days. Our connexes are on order, and they should be delivered in the next few weeks. I'm going to do a little bit of digging after some information that was relayed to me during the open house here about the connexes and see if there's another potential alternative to get one larger connex instead of 2 20-foot connexes. So I'm going to look into that tip that was given to me to see if we can potentially get one larger connex at this station. Personnel, we're currently at operational staff of 28, with 2 that fill a dual role in support staff and 2 that are single role support staff. We have 1 staff that's on active duty military leave. Big things that accomplishments during training for this month. Firefighter Mata completed the EMT school and did really well through that, as was expected. And then probationary firefighter Demlaw completed his Firefighter 1 Academy with Pleasant View. So it's both Firefighter 1 and hazmat operations. A ton of our staff attended a multi-agency EMS simulation over with University Hospital EMS Division up at Timberline. And it was a really big success. So huge thanks to them for inviting us to that. We're going to be trying to seek out some more of that high fidelity EMS simulation for our firefighters here in district as well. There's some other opportunities for that we're going to try to pursue. Let's see here. A bunch of our staff also went through recertifying their firefighter certifications this month. A huge thank you to Battalion Chief Brill for ensuring that all of our responders can remain certified. There's quite a few of them that had to go through that this month. TWPP continues to move on schedule with physical project planning, mapping and prioritization is completed. We now are working on prioritizing projects that build the district's direct capacity, so our ability to do work, like standing up our own mitigation division. And also actively combat wildland fires, looking at water resources and things like that. I do not have any individual budget authorization requests this month. And then the future actions are all the same as they were last month. Is there any other questions for me before I turn it back over? Nope. All right. That's it.
Thank you. Community organization reports. We want to start with auxiliary. Mary, since you are here.
Sure, that's fine. We are happy to be here and bring some treats for you tonight. We were happy to be able to purchase a lovely UTV similar to either this one or the one at the other station, auxiliary. Was able to use funds we raised from the community through the Big Roads and through the letter campaigns. We are recruiting new members, looking for a new president. As you all know, I am going to be moving someday to that. We are cranking up for our September 20th Big Roast this year, Saturday, September 20th. And we will be seeking out donations for use in our two auctions, the paddle auction and the sauna auction. So if you know of people who do some work themselves, then I would be willing to contribute to our auctions. That would be great. Let us know and we'll seek them out. And we're happy to be providing food to the firefighters during their monthly or however often the meetings are happening. And they very kindly invite the past board to go and visit with them and share information similar to this. So, those are the things that have been happening most recently.
What time's it?
Same as always, 5 to 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're also, did you say we're feeding them on Saturday for Slash?
I didn't say that.
Breakfast and lunch.
Breakfast and lunch this Saturday for the firefighters.
Yeah, not for people who are bringing Slash.
No.
Just the ones working.
Take some cookies.
Yeah, did we ever get a picture of the beautiful television that the auxiliary gave at Station 82? Susan had asked and
We didn't get it printed out.
didn't
but
get the
yes.
picture of, we had the picture, but we didn't get it printed out for your table tonight. But it's a beautiful TV that the auxiliary got for Station 82, and I thank you.
All right. Thank you guys.
Keep talking, but I don't think we bought you a television.
Not this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
It was in the past. We have a plaque by the television that says donated by the auxiliary.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
yes. Susan had asked,
Yeah.
and we got a picture.
Better memory. Yeah. Wasn't it this year? So we can handle that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry, the
Yeah.
Grange,
Golden Gate Grange, as the chief and everybody's talking about Slash on Saturday. Thank you for, I'm hearing everybody's bringing truckloads. The best part about the Golden Gate Slash is that we have firefighters that help offload compared to the county. So please thank your volunteer firefighters, for doing that. That's a big deal. And then July 12th, we have a CPR AED and first aid class. Please see me if you'd like to sign up, $5. You get your card, your certification. It is an all-day kind of an event, 9 to 3, your own lunch and refreshments. And we will have water there, but this is a big deal. And as you guys know, we also have a new AED unit at the Grange too. So this is kind of what prompted all of this. So please see me and sign up. Thank you.
Saturday, well,
Saturday, July 12th.
thank you. Under old business, Mike, you're up with the audit exemption report.
So, since the last meeting, we were able to successfully execute the audit exemption application, which is submitted to the state. That's been submitted to the state, by our bookkeeper. And there was delay with signatures that I needed to work out with her. But we got all those things worked out. It has been submitted. I have not heard back from her since that it's been approved. But I don't see, but it hasn't been rejected, so, she told me she'd reach back out when it was, approved. I'm confident at this point that it already has, since I haven't heard anything back.
Thank you, and you're up next for a financial review report.
Financial review report of, update. So been in contact with Pauline. She is with Logan Thompson and Johnson. And had visited with her and met with her to discuss the needs of the community, going over the books. That we have, our transactions, are we doing this thing correctly? This is everything. It's not gonna be a full-blown audit per se, but it's gonna be where she checks everything, checks our books, makes sure how we're doing things, should be looking at transactions. So that she can verify that the books are in order and being done correctly. She'll offer any suggestions in a written report at the end of it, to let us know. She also has access, to our QuickBooks Online. So she is currently going through our accounts, and our transactions. She's going to select certain just kind of test pods of transactions, test pods of how we do business. She's going to look at our internal policies, which I'm collecting, and we have a portal. So as soon as I get a list, I'll be uploading those. She's going to go through and look at all of our internal policies, make sure that we are set up in a way that protects the district. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to move forward with her on that as soon as she goes through and selects the transactions and the test documents that she wants to go through and do a deeper dive. She feels very confident that it's going to meet the requirements or the suggestions that the members of the community as well as from the board have voiced. So really pleased with that. The estimated cost for this is going to be not to exceed $3,000.
And 5,000 was budgeted.
5,000 was budgeted. It doesn't think with the amount of transactions, because we have so few transactions during the month. She didn't feel like at all that a full-blown audit was anywhere close to necessary. She'll just go through and pick out blocks and snippets of where she thinks that we would have the most vulnerability and the most exposure, and she'll double check those.
I also think it's worth noting, Mike, that we said we hit 5 budget, but originally we were thinking it was gonna cost 8.
Yeah, and it had been approved
8,700.
before that. Yeah.
And legally, we're not required because of the size
That's
of our
correct.
district. We're not required to do a full government overseen audit. So thank you.
Yeah, and Pauline was really good. She looked at our revenue and our transactions and was very adamant that it would be a waste of our district's finances to do a full-blown audit.
Okay, moving on under new business, updated Cora Farm. This is you.
Me, yeah.
Yes, Carla.
So in the process of combing through the documents that have been transitioned from the old website to the new website, we had an old core form. It hadn't been brought up to ADA compliance standards yet. After reviewing the form, I felt like there was an opportunity for improvement to kind of combine. We have a standing resolution about Cora and how we as a district will comply with the state policies within Cora, and then a form, trying to combine both. So it clearly outlines our policy, what the cost would be, that the first hour is free. If you guys want to see the old form versus the new form, it makes it very clear on cost that someone requesting through the Cora request would incur. And then what types of documents they were requesting, whether it's an email, paper copy, and then how they request the form. So through an email through the chief. And then there is a section for our records custodian to mark when received, when it was executed, just to complete the whole process and policy. Just so we don't have to look in multiple documents. It's all in one. So if anyone would like to review them, they've been sent to the board. They're up here, old and new. My question to the board is, the state has changed the minimum, what they recommend for the minimum hourly cost. To, I think it's over $40. So for the community, we charge $30 per hour. The first hour for document pulling is free. So after the first hour, we charge a $30 rate currently. That's per our resolution that was done in 2019. The state updates that minimum cost every 5 years. And with the new updated, should have tagged it, but I didn't tag it. It is increased to $41.37 per hour. So my
First hour
question,
is still free.
first
right?
hour is still free, but that is what they've increased the state, like what they recommend you charge as a district. Just want to know if we want to keep it at the 30, if we change it, do we have to update our resolution? Like, what does that look like as a board?
What is Cora?
Colorado Open Records Act. So since we fall under anything that we do falls under the Cora Act, that includes email communications within the board as well. That's all considered public record. So someone can request, say, a financial documentation. There are state rules that we have to follow. It's just the guidelines that we follow within the state.
How often are these requests made?
We get a couple of them a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I say keep it the same, just
Yeah,
to
30?
simplify.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion or just do it?
That's
Leave it.
fantastic.
I think we don't need a motion if we're not going to change
Change
it.
it.
No.
Okay.
I don't see an pressing need to raise the costs.
No.
Yeah,
We in agreement, board?
I'm in agreement.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Fantastic.
Yay.
Any other questions about Cora?
Thank you so much
Yep,
for,
trying.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, one
really
page.
good job.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Can I just ask, was that a motion and did that have to have a motion and a second or did you just agree that you're not doing it?
Yeah,
We will not be raising the cross and we're just gonna implement and make this ADA accessible, the new form.
Yeah.
Thank you.
okay, so we're okay. We don't need a motion to do the new one.
It's not changing any of your
No,
policies,
no.
it's just combining all your documentation.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yes.
yeah, that's great.
Next one would be, Mike again with the vehicle accident insurance deductible question that came up.
Okay.
This is just for discussion.
And on June the 11th, Chief Benson provided notification of a deductible due to Sedgwick. And Sedgwick is the claims administrator for the Colorado Special District's property and liberty pool, of which our district is a part of. And the claim was handled under the auto liability coverage. And the total amount of the claim was $7,733.37. The policy has a deductible of $5,000, and that deductible is due upon the settlement of the claim. And the claim is currently settled and recently settled, from what I understand from the documentation provided. And so basically, the event occurred several months ago. It involved a personal vehicle being struck by a vehicle owned and operated by the Golden Gate Fire Parking District in the station parking lot. Damage to the personal vehicle was minor. No personal injuries occurred. No district property or apparatus sustained damage. And so the district owes a $5,000 deductible in order to settle the claim.
Can I add something to this
Yeah.
board as far as why it was, so the $5,000 deductible is at my spending authority. However, the reason it was sent to the board other than notification, is that we do not have a line item specific for deductibles for insurance. So therefore, this spending authorization spending these funds does require deduction from our
Contingency.
contingency fund.
Contingency.
Okay.
Yes,
Mhm.
so that is because it's not a pre-appropriated line item. Although we can fall under contingency, I felt it was appropriate to discuss this with the board, before moving forward with payment.
Is a motion required?
Is,
It seems like a motion would be required since it's
I would
not
prefer-
under the
Okay,
line item, so I
Okay.
move that we pay the $5,000 deductible under contingency funds.
and I second that.
can I ask a clarifying question? With the
Sure.
contingency funds, I know that there's a certain amount set aside.
Mhm.
Have we, because I haven't looked at the budget specifically in the last couple of months, have we used that? Is there still money in, like,
No, interestingly enough, we actually had thought we were going to be using the contingency funds for
The audit.
for the audit.
oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
guess, as of right now, there should be no reduction.
Yeah.
okay.
It's sitting there, it's a virgin,
It's there.
virgin.
I believe it's
contingency.
15,000.
It's 10,000 is what's in the budget on contingency.
And no further litigation or anything else can come about.
It's
Nothing
settled.
else in the future.
It's settled.
Any other questions? I'll call the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 No opposed. Thank you. Oh, this is me. One of the issues that has been talked about quite a bit is communication with our residents. The feeling is that some of our residents are not really email savvy, internet savvy, and so I have looked into a direct mailing process. This is not bulk mailing, this is direct mail. It was used by Mike to send out a card before the election and a couple of other people in the community. And of course, I can't find the bill. The company is called, it's Wright and Golden, and it's called
Alpha Graphics.
Alpha Graphics. And I do have a bid. Mike, judging from what Mike sent out, he sent out a card of 325, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
325 what?
cards.
Cards.
Oh,
No, card notice, yeah. Just a 4x6.
Yeah.
Little cards with information on them, okay? Using an existing list. There's through the post office, there's something called door to door. In order to get everybody in our district, will require some research. You go on the post office line, you can look up the maps, you can look up the communities, and they literally pick out everybody's resident, and that would be about 450 maybe.
Yeah.
So that's obviously gonna be pricier, but better coverage. And I apologize because I can't find my sheet with the prices on it.
So now you're saying the post office does that? You don't go to the assessor's office to do it?
Well, it's a way to find door to door
Okay.
on its website. You do it on the internet. It brings up, it's really kind of cool. Brings up colored maps and you highlight it and it gives you the number of homes in that
So you're getting at home and not property.
actual homes, residents. It's called door to door. And I can't find the price.
well, is the price from the post office or from?
No, it's from the direct, it's a direct mail service.
Okay.
And it would still go to the same one that Alpha Graphics
Yes.
uses? Okay,
Mhm.
same one.
Yeah. What, do you remember the cost of the 325?
I think the total cost was a little over $300 to have the cards printed and then mailed.
They do the printing on the card. And they take care of everything in it and they mail it. So, because I don't have the actual figures, I can't, ask for a motion. How about a discussion on whether this is a good idea? My thought was getting a card out initially for the new website. The card can be printed on both sides, so we could have other information as needed. And, it would be a way to make sure we're reaching everybody in their mailbox.
You could also put the scan codes on them and they could scan that, so you won't be limited on what's on that particular card. You
Okay,
can embed and then they can take a picture of the scan card and it can take them to our website if there's additional information that you want to keep the community informed. You don't have to send out big sheets. People can just scan it, it'll take them right there, they can get the information that they want from other sources.
I have a question on that. Is that a QR code?
It is.
Could you tell me, because I've been all over, do you all design, who designed that? Or do you pay somebody, give them information, and then they make it a QR code?
You can do your own QR code.
It's usually a free service to generate it.
Yeah,
It's a free service that'll
it's
generate.
free, so it's free app.
Oh, wow.
okay, I found it. It's like $291 for the 325. She did not give me a price on the larger number. So I kind of just want to get a feel whether the board thinks this is a good idea or not.
How often are you looking at doing this, quarterly or
I'm sorry, what?
quarterly? monthly?
Oh, whenever we need to. We would have the list and we would, whenever we felt there was something that was important to get out to the community by mail, rather than, the Grange billboard, our website, which people don't maybe look at, or any other form. Terry?
Yeah, what's your timeline for this? I know you're wanting to announce the website.
Right.
So what is your timeline for that? And there's a follow-up question after you answer that.
Sooner the better, but there's no, immediacy.
Gotcha.
I- you
Because
know.
I know Fairmont, they put out a postcard every year, announcing their new newsletter, their chief's report, for the year before. They kind of do an all-in-one thing,
Mhm.
referring them to the website, so I'm wondering if we're gonna do this investment, make sure we get all the ducks in a row.
Exactly, that's the two-sided card that's this big, you can put a lot of
Well,
information.
it's more just, hey, this is the chief's report, year end, our future, and we're done.
Yeah.
And then they can go to the website. So
Right.
I like it. I like the idea. I think it's a great way to communicate. I don't think we need to do it 4, 5, 6 times
No.
a year.
No.
Once,
Mhm.
maybe 2, but I like the idea. Thank you for the research.
I like the idea. I mean, this board's goal is to keep the community informed, right? And to easily share that information. And that's gonna be critical as we move forward.
Is the design done by us or is it done by
They-
Alpha Graphics?
Can do everything. We give them the copy and we can have the logo and the whole thing.
Do the proofs and the whole stuff.
We do also have a line item in the budget for community outreach.
Okay.
What
Mary?
did you say?
We do have a line item in the budget for community outreach.
Oh, you think you gave me some money in that budget?
$391 for 300 people, and how many are there in our district? 1,500, so it's like.
400,
It's about
400, yeah.
So-
It's gonna be,
Let's
be under 500.
516 includes a lot of property owners, but not necessarily residents, a lot of trusts, those type of things. As I went through the list and was just picking out what I wanted to send, it was,
Yeah,
it was quite a bit less.
I think there's a lot of information that came out tonight so far, that a lot of people might want to look at.
Absolutely.
Also, kind of pin it up to remember some stuff or dates as well, because
yeah,
sometimes when you get it on the computer, look on a website, you know, into the trash and not find it.
Um,
If I can throw a fly in the ointment here. You made the proposal or you made this information available because quote, people are not familiar with the internet. And so
Some.
how can you have a QR code on this thing?
It's a good point.
Okay, I mean,
Very good
I
point.
hear what you're saying and I agree. My personal opinion, they need to get into the 20%.
No, it can have a lot of information as well as, you know, if you're not that savvy on an internet, your son or your daughter or your neighbor might be able to
Yeah.
help you.
You can do kind of a summary on a small card, and if for additional information, you know, hit the copy this QR code and it'll take you right there.
or just give them the website URL, you know,
Sure.
they don't have to use a
Yeah.
QR code. I always turn green when I see a QR code too.
Yeah, I know.
If I get something with a QR code, it goes into the shred. I don't.
However,
Oh.
I have something to say. I
Okay,
have
Meredith.
nothing to say yet.
Meredith, go ahead.
So what makes you think that people are not just gonna throw that in the recycling? I think it's a worthwhile gesture to do. I think it brings the point that the fire district is trying to reach its neighbors and keep them informed about what we're doing. But if people hit delete on all their emails, you ought to see how fast I go through my junk mail, you know? It's, but I do look at it, so, at least for an address, so it may work.
Cards, I think are better than letters or flyers. I
True,
think
cards might
with-
be different. You
With
might,
our logo right there is eye-catching, and that's just my,
There is feedback online, from Val Bauman, who said that she's had several community members express to her that they'd like to see newsletters like that used to go out from the department years ago.
It's just a point, we sent out how many cards about the election? 350.
Yeah, it's about 350.
Do you know how many households voted?
There were, I had that information, it was 325.
yeah, that's right.
I believe,
But that, you can have two people in a house.
Well, that's right, 325 votes.
so,
Oh, votes.
Yeah.
It was about a little better than half.
It was better than in the past.
Yeah, it was
I
better
mean,
than.
that, saying it, good way to make people aware. Yeah.
And I will say for tracking purposes, if the card includes even maybe signing up for the email, the MailChimp, you can track who signs up, and that's also a piece if we're promoting it during a period of time of this is how many people we got. There's a little bit more quantifiable data at that point, but I do appreciate it because the community hasn't gotten a mailer in a while, and at least we're trying, and you have to start somewhere, and if you don't start, no one's gonna be like, you're never gonna send me anything in the mail, I'll just ignore it from here on out, so I appreciate it.
okay.
The
I-
newsletters were really pricey.
I
They were
bet.
nice, but they were.
The folded, multiple copies, yeah, okay.
Okay, so should I pursue this?
yes.
Yes,
Do we need a motion or anything?
You know, it's gonna be under 500, and I'd like to go ahead.
It's a pre-appropriated funds
Fantastic.
and it's under the spending limit, so it's.
Yeah, we have the money. Okay,
All right,
let me see what I can come up with, and by next time we'll have something solid to,
That'd be great.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deb.
Okay. Budget committee, this is you, Meredith. When we should appoint the budget committee.
yeah, and so the budget discussion begins sometime in the summer, and it's sometimes it has been appointed, the committee has been appointed in July, sometimes in August. We just ought to pick a time and, you know, decide when to do it, so let's do that.
My thought would be the sooner the better.
Yes, August.
July,
July.
yes.
July.
When do we get the estimate from the county?
October.
It's in the.
Not until October?
You have it down on August.
Maybe
Assessment
it's August.
valuation should be received by treasurer to determine next year's tax revenue.
Oh,
I think it's
In
the- I
August?
think
so we
it's
don't get it until August, so that's why,
It's our first,
That's a
they're kind of like the preliminary
Yeah.
numbers come in August.
right,
And then the final comes in October.
that's right. That's
Right.
why, but I mean, we could start our planning process, but we can't really get down to the nuts and bolts without the numbers.
Right.
No, I know, but you could be talking about what's gonna be in the budget, what I said, I really feel our next meeting, we need to appoint the budget
I
committee.
think the realistically, you're appointing in July for in August, starting, because that's when
Yes.
we're gonna get our first,
You'll get your
start.
first
Yeah.
notice sometime in August, and why wait till the late meeting in August when it might come early in August,
Okay,
okay?
Yep.
So we don't need a motion for that.
no,
Think about it for July.
How many members do we need on that committee?
2 board members.
Okay, 2 board members,
and the
And then
fire chief.
Kyle.
fire chief, okay.
Yeah,
Historically, I
because,
think we could either do 2 board members and myself, or it's 2 board members, myself and the bookkeeper.
Okay,
As kind of someone who's kind of like, ends up being kind of the secretary of that group, trying
Yeah.
to keep things together.
and
Well,
I
if you
think
have-
the bookkeeper's gonna be.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
him been a part of this. gonna be-
you try to stay away from 3 board members because then you have to have minutes and everything else.
Okay,
Do we need to just mention that that's being skipped?
What did I forget?
The part two,
He's
just
not
because
here.
here, do we need to say that out
Yeah.
loud or?
It'll pass over to the next,
Okay, fantastic.
the next thing,
Okay.
next one. Okay, public comment. We've had a lot of public comment. Okay,
I missed the last board meeting, so I like this board meeting. I like the cohesiveness and the camaraderie, and it's starting to thunder, so let's roll.
anybody else?
I think there's something different. I haven't heard a disapproval. When you make a vote, I mean, there's always 3-2. It's like, this is different.
Yeah.
Kind of boring, but we're looking forward to boring.
Yeah. Sheila,
So I know that taking minutes has been sort of a problem in the last couple of years because it's pretty.
Contentious.
Time consuming. Have you thought about using an AI application to?
Yeah, I'm not for AI at all,
We talked about it a while
not
ago.
happening.
Because there's one called Simple Math that does a pretty good job of taking minutes.
Yeah.
And it actually identifies the speakers.
Well, we have a recorded,
I don't think it's free, though.
Yeah.
You have to pay for it.
I think that one, like, there are a couple that you have to pay for, but I think that one,
It seems,
I just wondered if you thought about it.
it's even, no, it's obviously a board decision, but it seems like based off the fact that we produce YouTube recording immediately after. And then we have we're kind of producing it in 2 different ways, right? So you have like the
Did
actual.
you generate a transcription?
The YouTube, I think you probably can make it do transcription
It
or that
does,
through
yeah.
YouTube. But the minutes themselves, it kind of gives you a little bit of a different way to digest, a quicker way to digest what happened.
I wanted to ask the chief a question.
Sure.
From the time, if I call 911, how long does it take? The policeman's so personal, how long does it take you to get everybody into this room and go?
We have an average response time of 14.2 minutes from the time 911 gets called to the time somebody comes through the door.
Woo,
To your door,
to your
not to get
door.
organized.
thank you.
Anything else from anybody? Otherwise, I'll. Board, anything else? Motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Okay, our next meeting
You
is,
need a second and a vote.
okay, no, I was gonna butt in with our next
To
meeting.
the next meeting.
Do I have a second to adjourn?
You have a second.
And all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, our next meeting is July 24th at the Grange, 7 o'clock. Yes.